Never underestimate quiet heroes among us. Every day, we pass by people who seem ordinary. People sweeping floors, driving buses, serving food, or standing quietly in the background of our busy lives. We may not stop to think about who they are beyond their roles, what they've endured, or what sacrifices they've made before we ever crossed paths with them. The truth is, some of the greatest acts of courage, honor, and resilience are carried by those who no longer wear medals, hold titles, or command attention. They walk among us unseen, their stories tucked away beneath work uniforms, tired eyes, and humble smiles. In every community, there are people who once stood on battlefields, faced impossible choices, or bore responsibilities that would break most of us. Yet, life goes on, and society moves forward, often forgetting the faces behind the history. These quiet heroes do not seek recognition or applause. They've learned that true service doesn't always come with glory. Sometimes, it comes with scars that are hidden and memories that never fade. But within them lies a strength that continues to shape the world in small, unseen ways. Imagine the janitor in a school who comes in before dawn, cleaning the floors so students have a safe and welcoming place to learn. To the children, he's just the man with the mop. To the teachers, he's part of the routine. But what if, years ago, he was the one who led men through danger, made life and death decisions, and carried the weight of others' lives on his shoulders? What if the same steady hands that now wring out a mop once held a flag folded for a fallen comrade? We seldom ask, and so we seldom know. Yet, every quiet hero carries a piece of history, a lesson in courage, humility, and the endurance of the human spirit. Quiet heroes teach us that strength doesn't always shout, it often whispers. They don't need to tell the world what they've done because they already know the cost. They've seen enough to understand that heroism isn't about being seen. It's about doing what's right when no one's watching. Their silence isn't emptiness. It's peace earned through hardship. They've fought their battles, paid their dues, and chosen to live in gratitude rather than pride. Their humility becomes their greatest badge of honor. What separates a quiet hero from the rest of us is not just what they've done, but how they carry themselves afterward. They don't boast about their past. They build their present. They don't demand respect. They earn it quietly, through consistency and kindness. When you look closely, you can see it in their eyes, the depth of someone who has seen the fragility of life and still chooses to smile. You can feel it in their calmness, the peace of someone who has faced storms and learned that silence can be stronger than any roar. Quiet heroes are not defined by their recognition, but by their character. They remind us that heroism is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong way of being. It's found in patience, in doing the right thing even when no one notices, in lifting others up without expecting anything in return. The janitor who shows up every day without complaint, the nurse who stays late without asking for extra pay, the teacher who believes in every child despite the odds. All of them are heroes in their own way. They carry the same quiet dignity that defines the greatest among us. Sometimes, we mistake loudness for strength and visibility for value. We idolize those in the spotlight and overlook those in the shadows. But real impact doesn't always need an audience. The quiet hero doesn't need validation because they understand something deeper, that the greatest rewards are not medals or applause, but the knowledge that they made a difference, that they gave their best when it mattered most. Their contribution may not make headlines, but it shapes lives, communities, and generations in ways that fame never could. If we only pause to look beyond appearances, we would see that courage wears many faces. It's in the veteran who works the night shift to provide for his family without ever mentioning his service. It's in the single mother who sacrifices her dreams so her children can chase theirs. It's in the elderly neighbor who checks on others even while living alone. These are the quiet heroes who keep the world steady, who show us what true strength looks like, not in words, but in actions, not in glory, but in grace. True greatness often hides behind humility. It's a quality that doesn't draw attention to itself, doesn't seek the spotlight, and yet, when it's present, everyone around can feel its quiet power. Humility is what separates those who achieve for themselves from those who achieve for something greater. The truly great understand that leadership, courage, and wisdom don't come from pride. They come from a place of purpose, service, and understanding of one's place in the larger story of life. When a person has walked through enough storms, carried enough burdens, and seen enough of life's unpredictability, they begin to realize that greatness isn't measured by applause or recognition. It's measured by how much one can give without needing anything in return. Those who embody humility have learned the balance between confidence and grace. They know their worth, but they don't need to announce it. They are grounded in a quiet assurance that comes from experience rather than ego. A humble person doesn't try to prove themselves to others because they've already faced their own tests and passed them, often in silence. They've seen how fleeting titles can be, how temporary praise can feel, and how easily the world can forget. So instead of chasing validation, they focus on doing good work, being kind, and letting their actions speak louder than any words ever could. There's something deeply powerful about a person who could boast, but doesn't. Imagine a man who once commanded troops, now content with sweeping floors in a school. The power he once held is no longer visible, but the discipline and dignity with which he carries out his work still speak of the same greatness. He doesn't remind others of who he used to be, because he doesn't need to. He knows that who he is now, honest, hardworking, dependable, is just as meaningful. That's what humility looks like. Strength under control, power wrapped in gentleness, pride transformed into peace. It's the rare ability to be both confident and selfless, to know your value, yet place others before yourself. True greatness is not loud. It doesn't demand attention, it earns respect. When someone is truly great, they lift others instead of stepping over them. They listen more than they speak, they learn more than they teach, and they understand that wisdom grows in quiet reflection, not in noise. History is filled with people who have achieved extraordinary things, but the ones who leave the deepest mark are those who remain humble even in success. Their humility makes their greatness shine brighter, because it shows that their achievements were never about ego. They were about service, purpose, and a belief in something larger than themselves. Humility also creates connection. When someone great chooses to remain grounded, others feel seen and valued. It breaks down barriers, invites trust, and creates space for genuine relationships. A humble person doesn't stand above others, they stand with them. They understand that every role, every job, every person has worth. When a leader listens to their team, when a teacher learns from their students, when a soldier respects the janitor cleaning the floor, that's humility in action. It's the acknowledgement that everyone matters, no matter their title or position. And within that equality lies the real essence of greatness. Those who live with humility have nothing to prove and everything to give. Their focus shifts from recognition to contribution. They find fulfillment not in being celebrated, but in knowing they've done their best, quietly and consistently. They are the ones who don't need to be reminded to help, who don't hesitate to serve, who treat everyone, from the CEO to the cleaner, with the same respect. They move through life aware that success means little if it isn't paired with kindness. They know that greatness isn't about being remembered. It's about making a difference while you're here. Humility teaches patience. It teaches that the world doesn't revolve around one person's story. It teaches empathy, because when you are humble, you can truly see others. You notice their struggles, their potential, their humanity. You begin to understand that every person you meet knows something you don't, and that learning from them doesn't make you smaller, it makes you wiser. The humble understand that growth never ends, that no matter how far you've come, there's always room to listen, to learn, and to serve. Their greatness is continuous, evolving quietly with every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every moment of restraint. In the end, humility is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength. It takes strength to stay grounded when praised, to stay kind when wronged, and to keep serving when no one's watching. The humble live not for recognition, but for meaning. They don't seek to stand out. They seek to stand for something. And in that stillness, in that quiet refusal to let pride overshadow purpose, lies the truest and most enduring form of greatness. Respect transcends rank, title, and uniform. It is one of those rare values that reveals the depth of a person's character more than any position or power ever could. True respect is not dictated by hierarchy or the symbols that society uses to measure importance. It cannot be demanded, only earned. When we see someone treat another human being with kindness, regardless of who they are or what they do, we witness the purest form of respect. It's a reminder that beyond the roles we play, we all share the same human dignity. Rank and titles may separate us in function, but not in worth. The uniform may show our duty, but it does not define our soul. In moments of honesty, we realize that respect is not about how high one stands, but how one treats those who stand lower. It's easy to show courtesy to someone in authority, but the real measure of respect is how we act toward those who have nothing to offer us in return. When a commander greets a janitor with the same sincerity he gives to his fellow officers, that's when respect transcends formality and becomes real. When a leader listens to a subordinate's opinion with genuine attention, even if they outrank them, that's respect. It is in those small, unseen moments that human equality is truly honored. Titles and uniforms are temporary. They serve their purpose in structure and organization, but they don't determine a person's value. A man wearing a suit may not be wiser than the one wearing work boots. A soldier in uniform may learn something profound from a civilian who has lived through hardship. Respect reminds us that wisdom is not confined to ranks, and that courage does not only exist on the battlefield. Every person carries their own kind of strength, their own story, and their own lessons to teach. The humble understand this deeply. They look beyond appearances and recognize the person within. When respect becomes genuine, it breaks down invisible walls. It builds bridges between people who might otherwise remain distant. It reminds us that humanity is not divided by what we wear or what we've achieved, but united by what we feel and share. A title may command obedience, but only respect can inspire loyalty. People may follow orders out of duty, but they follow leaders out of respect. And that respect is never built on fear. It grows from fairness, compassion, and integrity. When someone in power treats others with dignity, they don't just lead, they elevate everyone around them. Respect also reveals humility. To respect another person means to acknowledge that you are not above them, that their experiences and struggles matter as much as your own. It is a quiet form of empathy that doesn't need to be spoken to be felt. It shows up in tone, in gesture, in the way we listen. It's the reason why a salute between soldiers carries so much weight. It's not just about protocol. It's about mutual recognition of sacrifice and shared purpose. In that simple act, there's a quality, even if ranks differ. It's a language of honor that transcends words. There's something profoundly moving about seeing respect cross generational or social boundaries. When a young Navy SEAL looks at an elderly janitor and, upon recognizing a symbol of past service, addresses him as Sir, it's not about formality, it's about understanding. In that instant, the years, the uniforms, and the titles fade away. What remains is pure respect, earned not by current status, but by past courage. It's the acknowledgement that greatness doesn't disappear when the uniform is taken off, that dignity remains long after the medals have tarnished. That single word, spoken with sincerity, restores honor where it quietly resided all along. True respect also transforms communities. It teaches people to see each other not through categories, but through character. It brings balance to power, reminding those in authority that leadership is service, not privilege. It gives those in humble positions a sense of worth, reminding them that their contribution matters just as much as anyone else's. When respect flows both ways, when those above honor those below, and those below trust those above, something remarkable happens: unity. That's when teams work not out of fear, but out of shared pride. That's when workplaces become families and societies become stronger. Respect is not about age, wealth, or rank. It's about recognizing humanity in its purest form. It's what allows a general to learn from a private, a teacher to learn from a student, a leader to learn from the people they serve. It doesn't need to be spoken loudly. It's seen in how we hold a door, how we use our words, how we acknowledge another person's presence. It's a silent agreement between souls that says, I see you, I value you, you matter. And when that kind of respect exists, no rank can divide, no uniform can separate, and no title can overshadow the shared truth of our human equality. Every person carries an untold story. Behind every face we see in passing, every voice we hear in a crowd, and every uniform, badge, or name tag, there lies a world of memories, experiences, and emotions that often go unnoticed. We live in a world where people are quick to judge but slow to understand, where appearances often define worth, and where titles or jobs overshadow the human being underneath. Yet, if we stopped for a moment to look deeper, we would discover that every individual, no matter how ordinary they may seem, holds a story that could move us, teach us, or even change the way we see life itself. Each scar, each wrinkle, each quiet look in someone's eyes carries a fragment of a life lived, a story that might never be told unless someone cares enough to listen. Every person you meet has faced something you know nothing about. Some carry the weight of loss, some the silence of unspoken dreams, and some the courage of battles fought in private. The janitor who walks past you each morning might have once worn a uniform of a different kind, standing tall in a place far away, carrying responsibilities that shaped the course of history. The old woman sitting quietly on a park bench might have once been the strength behind an entire family, sacrificing her own ambitions for others. The young man serving your food might be working 2 jobs to chase a dream his parents never had the chance to. Everyone carries invisible chapters, written in the ink of struggle and perseverance. Life has a way of humbling us, of stripping away titles and leaving us with what truly matters, our stories. These stories are what connect us. They are the bridge between strangers, the invisible thread that binds humanity together. When we listen, really listen, to someone's story, we stop seeing them as just a role or a position and start seeing them as a person. We begin to understand that no one arrives where they are by accident. There are lessons behind every wrinkle, battles behind every smile, and reasons behind every silence. But so often, people carry their stories quietly, either because they've never been asked or because the world moves too fast to hear them. There's a profound power in recognizing the stories of others. It opens our hearts, softens our judgments, and replaces indifference with empathy. When we take the time to see beyond the surface, we realize that people are rarely what they appear to be. The man cleaning the hallway might once have been a hero, the woman checking groceries might have been a scholar, the child sitting alone might be dreaming of changing the world. We never truly know the weight someone carries, the dreams they nurture, or the fears they hide. By seeing others through that lens of understanding, we learn the simple but powerful truth that every person's story is worthy of respect. It's easy to value people when we know their achievements, but real compassion lies in valuing them even when we don't. When we begin to see the hidden narratives behind ordinary lives, we start to recognize that greatness often lives in silence. Many people have stories they don't share, not because they are unworthy, but because they are sacred. They've lived through moments that shaped them in ways words can't describe. They've experienced pain that taught them resilience, and love that taught them sacrifice. Every untold story holds a piece of wisdom waiting to be discovered, a lesson hidden in plain sight. When we look beyond the surface, we begin to see the beauty of human complexity. The quiet man sitting alone at lunch may be grieving. The strict teacher may have once struggled to learn. The stern officer may have seen too much. The world becomes gentler when we understand that everyone is carrying something. Sometimes, a simple act of kindness, a word of acknowledgement, or even a smile can give someone the courage to share their story, or simply the strength to keep going. In a world that often demands perfection, Hearing or seeing someone's truth reminds us that to be human is to be imperfect, to struggle, to grow, and to endure. Every person's story deserves to be honored, not because of what it contains, but because it is theirs. It's what defines them, shapes them, and gives meaning to their presence in this world. We may never know the full story of those we meet, but we can choose to treat them as if we do, with patience, with kindness, and with respect. Every story adds something to the collective fabric of humanity, a small but irreplaceable thread that gives life its texture and color. When we begin to see people not as faces in a crowd, but as stories in motion, we unlock a deeper sense of connection to the world around us. Recognition can revive forgotten honor. In a world that moves quickly, where yesterday's heroes fade into the background of today's routines, it is easy to overlook the lives that quietly shaped our present. Many people who once stood in the face of danger, who served, sacrificed, or led with courage, now live ordinary lives, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and unseen. Their uniforms may be gone, their medals stored away, their stories untold, yet the essence of their service remains within them. All it takes is one moment of recognition, one genuine gesture of acknowledgement, to bring that quiet dignity back to life. Recognition is not about glorifying someone's past. It's about restoring the value of what they gave, reminding them and the world that their contribution still matters. When a young man salutes an older one, when a student thanks a teacher long after graduation, when a community remembers the sacrifices of those who came before, something powerful happens. Honor, once buried under the dust of time, rises again. It's not about fame or applause. It's about respect. Recognition breathes life into the memories of service and reminds people that their efforts were not in vain. For someone who once gave everything to protect, to teach, or to build, a simple acknowledgement can be a bridge between the past and the present. It reconnects them to a sense of purpose that never truly left, even if the world forgot to see it. So many of those who have done great things never ask for recognition. They move through life quietly, content with having done their duty. They don't seek validation because they already know the value of their actions. But that doesn't mean recognition isn't needed. To be seen is to be reminded that one's sacrifices mattered. To be thanked is to know that what was endured, what was given, still echoes in the hearts of others. Recognition is a form of gratitude made visible. It honors not only the act, but the spirit behind it. It revives a sense of belonging and pride in those who have given much and asked for little. There is a quiet power in moments of recognition. Imagine a young Navy SEAL noticing a faded tattoo on an old janitor's arm, the emblem of a unit long past, a memory of service decades before. In that moment of realization, the young man's eyes soften, his tone changes, and with a quiet, "Sir," the past is honored again. That one word carries generations of respect, bridging the distance between the one who once served and the one serving now. Recognition transforms an ordinary hallway into sacred ground. It reminds us that honor never expires, that courage doesn't disappear with age or status, and that the human spirit, when acknowledged, shines brighter than any medal ever could. Recognition is also an act of healing. Many who served, sacrificed, or contributed in unseen ways carry with them a quiet ache, the feeling that the world moved on without them. To be recognized, even in a small way, eases that ache. It tells them that their story didn't end when their role changed. It tells them that the values they stood for, duty, integrity, courage, are still alive in others. That is why a thank you, a salute, a nod of respect can carry so much weight. It's not the words themselves that matter most. It's the sincerity behind them. Recognition speaks directly to the heart, where the need to be seen and valued lives. Communities thrive on recognition. When people honor those who built, protected, or nurtured before them, they create a culture of gratitude. They teach younger generations to value sacrifice, to understand that their comfort and freedom were not achieved alone. Recognition connects generations, weaving the lessons of the past into the promise of the future. It reminds us all that greatness is not confined to the present moment. It stretches backward through the lives of those who gave without expectation. By remembering them, we keep their spirit alive, allowing their quiet legacy to continue shaping the world. Even in the smallest gestures, recognition restores dignity. A handshake, a story shared, a name remembered, or a tribute given can mean everything to someone who thought their chapter was closed. It reignites pride, not in a boastful way, but in a quiet, enduring sense of meaning. It reminds them that the world still sees the good they did and the person they are. Recognition is more than gratitude. It's remembrance in action. It's the bridge between what was done and what is still felt. It tells the forgotten that they were never truly forgotten, only waiting to be remembered again. Character outlasts circumstance. When everything else fades, titles, possessions, status, and even memories, what remains is the essence of who we truly are. Circumstances change constantly. They can lift us high or bring us low, but they do not define our worth. What defines us is how we respond to those moments, how we carry ourselves when no one is watching, and how we treat others when the world gives us no reason to be kind. Character is the invisible backbone that keeps a person standing even when life bends them to their knees. It is built not in comfort, but in struggle, not in praise, but in perseverance. When fortune shifts, it is character that steadies the heart and guides the path forward. There are people who lose everything, positions, careers, wealth, and yet retain their dignity because they never allowed their circumstances to steal their integrity. They continue to act with honor, to speak with honesty, to serve with humility. That is what makes character so powerful. It cannot be taken away, only revealed. When challenges strip away the outer layers of life, character is what remains uncovered. It shows the truth of who a person really is. Some emerge bitter and broken, but others emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The difference between the two is not luck. It is the quiet strength of character. Life tests character in ways that are often unseen. It is easy to be good when things are going well, but real strength shows when the odds turn against you. It shows in the soldier who keeps his promise even when no one is watching, in the worker who does his job with care even when he's overlooked, in the leader who admits a mistake rather than hiding it. Character is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about choosing the right thing even when it costs something. Over time, it becomes a person's legacy, an invisible imprint that lingers long after their circumstances have changed. Circumstances are temporary. They are like waves, constantly rising and falling. A person may be rich one day and struggling the next, celebrated in one season and forgotten in another. But character is like the ocean floor, steady, unmoved, defining the shape of the tide rather than being shaped by it. Those who live with integrity do not let success make them arrogant or failure make them bitter. They remain the same in spirit because their identity is rooted in something deeper than circumstance. They understand that control over external events is limited, but control over one's choices is absolute. And in that control lies true freedom. There is an unspoken beauty in people who hold on to their values no matter what happens around them. They don't compromise their principles for convenience or abandon their morals for opportunity. Their actions reflect an inner code that remains unshaken, even when life tests their limits. These are the people who inspire trust, who earn respect without demanding it, who leave a mark not through words, but through example. Character is not something one claims to have. It is something others recognize in silence. It is built through years of choices, habits, and sacrifices that reveal a person's true nature. When we think of the janitor who was once a soldier, or the teacher who was once a dreamer, or the elder who once built the foundations of a community, we begin to see that what endures is not what they had, but who they were. Their strength, their humility, their quiet resolve, all of it rooted in character. The world may forget their titles or overlook their achievements, but it cannot erase the impact of their integrity. The young may inherit their lessons without even realizing it, through the way they were treated, through the example they witnessed, through the respect that naturally followed them wherever they went. Character also outlasts circumstance because it touches others long after the moment has passed. A single act of honesty, kindness, or courage can ripple outward, influencing lives in ways we may never see. Long after positions have changed and times have shifted, people remember how someone made them feel, how someone stood firm when it mattered, how someone chose honor over ease. Circumstances fade from memory, but the impression of character endures like a quiet echo that continues to inspire. It is in the hardest seasons of life that character shines the brightest. When faced with disappointment, loss, or injustice, those with strong character do not lose themselves to resentment or despair. They keep moving forward, guided by a moral compass that doesn't depend on recognition or reward. They understand that storms reveal more than they destroy. And when the skies finally clear, it is the strength of character that remains standing, proving that no circumstance, no matter how harsh or unfair, can diminish the light of a person who remains true to themselves.